One of the greatest names that a rabbi can have. Every time you come here, I'm always, certain name you fall in love with. Rabbi Alon Anava. The word Anava is humility. Moshe Rabbeinu was the greatest leader in the world history. If he was any character that he well known to have is humility. Rabbi Alon exactly fit that name. A brilliant and talented individual, a person that spread Torah all over the world, and still such a simple human being, such a easy to reach. This is maybe his greatest gift. Hopefully the Almighty God will give him a long life and a happy life and successful. שיזכה לגדל את ילדיו, להיות חיילים, חסידים, יראי השם ולמדנים, וכן יהי רצון ונאמר אמן. I want to invite a rabbi that I respect, admire. A rabbi that doing so much in this world. And we have many years together, בעזרת השם. To literally להקים אוהלה של תורה. בעזרת השם, God again will give him a long and a healthy life. הרב אלון ענווה מכובד.
Beautiful. Now I don't have what to say. Speechless. I told you once I was invited to a Shabbaton. And I was preparing my material for 2 weeks. There was a rabbi that went in front of me to the speech. Everything that I wanted to say, he said. I was like, okay, listen, he took my spot. First of all, Toda Rabba, Rav Vaknin, thank you so much for such beautiful and inspiring words. We want to make a very quick dedication. Today's birthday of a very special soul that unfortunately left the world way too soon, Kayla Rus, but Bunin Tuvia. Bezrat Hashem should have Aliyat Neshama. Today is a very special night. And Bezrat Hashem, she should have Aliyat Neshama and have a lot of nachat from us down here. And should be a Melitzat Yosher for us in Olam Elyon. Can you all hear me in the back? No? So come forward. Okay, so we can still wish you Chodesh Tov. We just started the month of Av. And unfortunately, many people associate the month of Av with something very negative. We're in the midst of the 3 weeks. Now we're starting the 9 days that, unfortunately, in our past, we suffered many terrible things in the past. But really, the fact is that the 3 weeks that we're commemorating are actually a very positive thing. To a fact that we know that our sages say that very soon, when Mashiach is going to come, these days are going to turn into days of a festival, of a holiday. The reason why we're commemorating it as something so bad is because always when you'll see a place with a lot of kedusha, with a lot of holiness, then right away you will see that the other side will come in the exact same power. So where you see a lot of unholiness, just know that hidden inside is a lot of holiness. Shlomo HaMelech, the wisest man in history, said, Ze le'umat ze bara Elokim. Kadosh Baruch Hu built a system that something is always opposed something else. We just read about Bilam that wanted to curse us. So Bilam was the le'umat ze, the other side, the opposing side of Moshe Rabbeinu. And there's always something that is equal in the level of Kedusha, and there will be something that equal in the level of Tum'ah, of impurity. So really these 3 weeks, even though they're called days of judgment, seemingly they're very bad days, but really they're actually very good days. So what we want to talk about today is about how do I change the judgments into kindness, to changing the gvura into chesed. Because in these days we see a lot of judgments. We see that midat adin, the attribute of judgment, of din, of severity, is very powerful. But really, we can transform it into something very positive. Now, just to go a little bit into history, we started on the day of Yud Zayin B'Tammuz, the 17th day of Tammuz. We started it with a fast. Now, if we go all the way back to history, why are we commemorating that day with a fast? Because of the destructions of the walls of Jerusalem for the first temple. But if you go 1,000 years before that, that's the day when Moshe Rabbeinu came down from the mountain with the tablets, and instead of finding a nation that is waiting for him, he finds a nation having a party with a golden calf. Of course, the tablets broke, and since that day started a day of mourning. But the reality is, that day was supposed to be the best day in history. That was supposed to be the day that Moshe Rabbeinu was supposed to come down from the mountain with the tablets. If he wouldn't find the golden calf, he would get on that point the soul of Mashiach. He would become our Mashiach at that moment. Now the next day, on Yud B'Av, then we would go into Eretz Israel. So the day that he came down on Yud Zayin B'Tammuz was supposed to be the best day in history. Just that instead of finding a nation that is waiting for him, he found the golden calf. And that triggered all the problems. He went up to the mountain for 40 days till Rosh Chodesh Elul. He came down again, went up again for another 40 days to the mountain, and came down on Yom Kippur, and then Hashem decided to forgive us. A little bit less than a year later, that's when the spies went into Israel. Now at that point, already Hashem forgave us. On the third time when Moshe Rabbeinu was on the mountain, he prayed for 40 days and 40 nights. At some point, he was able to say a few magic words, which are the 13 attributes of mercy. Hashem said, Salachti kidvarecha, I will forgive you and forgive the nation, and that's it. Let's move on. A little bit less than a year after that, the spies go into Eretz Israel, and they come back on Tisha B'Av. And of course, they say that the land is hard to conquer, and it's going to be a problem. And since then, they got punished not to go into the land of Israel. And Moshe Rabbeinu was also punished. And up until today, we're paying for that sin. But if on that day, they would come back and say, you know what? It's a great place. We can conquer it like that. Let's just go in. If they would come with good news, that day, they would pack the bags. The next day, Yud B'Av, they would start going into Eretz Israel. It will take them 3 days to go into Eretz Israel. On Yud Gimel B'Av, they would park, and in that day, Moshe Rabbeinu would start building the Beit HaMikdash, and Tetvav B'Av, the 15th day of Av, that's it. The party starts. We will go into the redemption. That was the plan. That's why we see that from Yud Zayin Tammuz till Tisha B'Av, these became days of judgment. After that, we have a few more days, but on the 15th day of Av, this is a very special day. It says, Lo yomim tovim kaelel b'Yisrael kmo Tisha B'Av. We never had such great day like Tisha B'Av. The 15th of Av. So B'ezrat Hashem, very soon Mashiach is going to come, and all these days are going to change into days of celebration. But, okay. But now we want to know, we don't want to concentrate on the negative, because we have enough negative in our life. We have enough problems in our life. We want to see how we can actually utilize these days to transform it into something positive. Taking the judgments and making it something positive, changing it into kindness. Because sitting and mourning every day and every year and every century, we have to do it, but that's not what's going to change the reality. Now, unfortunately, Hashem made it in such a way that everybody is going through some type of a challenge. Everybody in the world. You're not going to find one person in the world that their life is perfect. Everybody's suffering from something. It's very sad, but that's the reality. Almost any person, if we're going to make now a vote, you'll see that everybody will raise their hand with saying, I have at least 2-3 challenges in my life right now. You know, Baruch Hashem, we're doing a lot of work around the world using the media and internet and lectures. So Baruch Hashem, with that comes thousands and thousands of followers. we get on an average day about 1,000 to 1,500 emails from all around the world. That's about 50,000 emails a month to process. The sad truth is that I never got one email of somebody telling me, "Hi, I just wanted to let you know everything's okay." Not even one email like that. You know, I said the exact same thing when I said now exactly a week ago in a lecture. Somebody took the time, she emailed me and she said, "I just wanted to tell you everything's okay." But she just wanted to make me feel good. Doesn't mean that everything's okay. The sad truth is that nothing is okay. We're struggling here with unbelievable challenges. People lose money, people lose their spouse, their loved ones. People have problems with health, with children, with education. Every person can now list a whole list of problems. The reason behind it is because Hashem wants us already to be so fed up that we will scream for Mashiach to come. But the reality is that there's something easier to do, and that's just transforming these judgments into chasadim, into something positive. Now, really what we see in front of us, this attribute of judgment, this din, is just a garment. It's not really midat adin. Midat adin, if we would have now, chas v'shalom, we would have to deal with this attribute of din, we wouldn't be existing. Rather, it's just a garment. And the garment is something very external. The garment is something that you can take off, and the garment just represents something. So right now, this judgment, so to say, in the world is just a garment of the judgment, and we can easily transform it. Now, amazingly, if we go back now 2,000 years, give or take, first we had the first temple, the first Bet HaMikdash. Unfortunately, it was destroyed from 3 sins: sinat chinam, hating another person for no reason; idol worship, avodah zarah; and shfichut damim, and murder. Since the sin was revealed, then the length of the exile was revealed. When they left Yerushalayim, the prophet told them, "You're going to be out in exile for 70 years. Exactly 70 years later, they made a U-turn and came back. The day that Bet HaMikdash was destroyed, the first Bet HaMikdash, our sages already decided, okay, this is going to be a day of mourning and a day of fast. A year later, the first year, they already were fasting for Tisha B'Av. What happened when they came back to Yerushalayim and built the second Bet HaMikdash? Did they celebrate Tisha B'Av? Nobody ever thought about that. What did they do? For 420 years, they had Bet HaMikdash Sheni. Were they celebrating Tisha B'Av? No. That was a regular day. They had Bet HaMikdash. Why should I celebrate the destruction of the Bet HaMikdash? Just goes to show you that the day is just the mourning of the deficiency of what we're lacking. So in essence, the day of Tisha B'Av that everybody's dreading it not because of the destruction of the temple, they're dreading it because they need to fast now for 24 hours. Hashem created this fast just so we can pray, "Please bring Mashiach, just don't let me fast." To go a whole day without coffee. So unfortunately, everybody's dreading the fast because they're thinking of their stomach, not because they're thinking of the destruction of the Holy Temple. Now, we want to see how is this whole concept affecting me in my personal life, and what can I do to change it? Because I'm now in my own exile. We are suffering this general exile, that the entire world is in a state of exile. But each and every one of us is suffering a personal exile. And that's my challenges that I go through. Now, in order for me to understand, I have to look a little bit inside a more unrevealed layer, in a more pnimiyut, in a more inner part, and to kind of figure out what's going on. There's a hint of the entire structure of the root of the soul in one of the first blessings I say when I wake up in the morning. I wake up in the morning, first of all, I thank Hashem, Odeni lefanecha. After that, I say a very interesting blessing. I say, Elokai neshama shenatata bitorai. My God, the soul that you gave me is pure. And then I say, Ata yatzarta, Ata barata, Ata nafachta. This is hinting about the root of my soul. The root of my soul comes from a very, very high level. When I say Elokai, Neshama shenatata bi tehorai, I'm not referring to the fact that my soul is pure. Rather, I'm referring to a spiritual world that is not so familiar, that is called Olam HaTohar. This is a spiritual world that is above Olam HaAtzilut. We are familiar with 5 spiritual worlds. That the first one that we know of is Olam HaAtzilut, then Olam HaBriya, then Yetzirah, then Asiyah. But there's another world above that it's called Olam HaTohar, which is a higher world, and there's another world in between that is called Ak, Adam Kadmon, a 5th world. This is a previous world that's where our soul comes from. It comes from such a high place that literally our soul is a piece of the Kadosh Baruch Hu. That's why we say, Elokai, my God, your soul, the soul that you gave me comes from the world of Tohar, Teorai. And then what do we say? Ata barata, because a piece of my soul comes from Olam HaBriya. Ata yatzarta, a piece of my soul comes from Olam HaYetzirah. Ata nafachta bi, you place the soul in me, comes from Olam HaAsiyah. So I see that my soul is built from many different levels, but it comes from a very, very high place. Now, how does the soul project into the world? How does the soul reveals itself into the world? Because really, when I look at myself, what is me? My body is not me. When I die, my body becomes part of the earth. The real me is my soul. And the essence of the soul comes from this high, high, high world. Now, how does the soul reveal itself? By having emotions, by having desires, and by having all sorts of te'avot, of these unwanted desires, these lusts that are usually a negative. A te'avah is something that I want unconditionally, but it comes from a very negative place. It's not a positive thing. That's how the soul, so to say, reveals itself in this world. Now, in order for me to interact in this world, Hashem created a system that is called free will. Because if I wouldn't have free will, then there wouldn't be a point to the world. Then we would be like robots. We would be like angels. Angels don't have free will. There are creation, whatever they're told to do, that's what they do. Hashem wanted to reward us. Hashem wanted to be a purpose behind this world, so He created a system that I can choose between the good and the bad. Comes the Yetzer Hara, who represents the side of the bad, and he covers the reality with a certain cover, with a husk. This is called klipa. Klipa can be translated as a peel. It's more like a husk, something that covers the holiness. Now, while the Yetzer Hara is covering this holiness, then I basically don't see the reality. This starts creating all sorts of desires for things that are irrelevant and not so important. The first and most powerful desire that is created is greed, is lust for money. There are few people in the world that they don't have it. And if they do, they have it in a very, very limited way. Most people, they wake up in the morning, the first thing that starts running in their mind is, how am I making money? Some have it in a very extreme way because they just want a lot of money. The majority of people just say, wait a minute, I have to get a job, I have to pay my rent, I have to pay my mortgage. But the first cover that the Yetzer Hara puts is me running after greed, after money. Because if I wouldn't have that, the first thing that I would want to do is go to the mikveh and then go to the shul and pray shacharit for 2 hours and then learn Torah for 5 hours. I wouldn't even think of going to work. While I'm praying, I'm already thinking of money. And all day long, most people in the world, what's in the back of their mind is, how am I getting money? Because you know how they say in America, the money makes the world go round. So this is the first concealment that the Yetzer Hara comes and puts around me, that I have to somehow run after money all day long. You know how many creatures are in the world? Probably trillions of animals. Probably trillions of fish in the water. Thousands and millions of animals. Do you ever see a cat walking in the street like, oh my God, where am I going to get money for rent? The animals just walk like, No worries. I didn't never seen a dog freaking out in the street. Where am I going to sleep tonight? Because they trust Hashem. Hashem, Hazanu Farnes Lakol. Animals don't have psychiatrists because they have nothing to freak out over. They have 100% trust in the Kadosh Baruch Hu. They have where to sleep, they have where to eat. That's it, no worries. We are the weirdest creature. We all day long are worried, where am I going to sleep? Where am I going to eat? Am I going to get married? What am I going to do? How am I going to buy my car? How am I going to pay my rent? If the animals could talk to us, they would tell us, guys, you're just sit down and relax. And trust me, the more you relax, the more it comes to you. Now, I'm not saying you have to sit at home like this all day long and wait for money to come out of the ceiling. You have to initiate something, but with no worries, with no anxieties. So the Yetzer Hara comes, and first of all, and it covers the reality that I don't see the world in the right way. You drive now in the rain, and there's a lot of rain coming down, strong rain. If you don't put the wipers, you're not going to see the road, because the water is covering the windshield. So the Yetzer Hara comes and covers my windshield, so I see the world in a total different perspective. Next, after that, the Yetzer Hara has an agenda to take the godly light that reflects out of my soul and to take it down into the most impurest place in the world. That's the agenda of the Yetzer Hara. He has no desire of me serving God. He has no desire of me fulfilling my purpose. The Yetzer Hara just wants to take my neshama and put it into the klippah, into the place of impurity. Now it's in my hands that I have to take my godly light that is part of my neshama and to transform it in order to fix the world. Now when the Yetzer Hara pulls my neshama down to the klippah, the result from it is that I have all these forbidden desires, that I start lusting all sorts of things that are forbidden, and then it will of course manifest to things that I would want that are not forbidden, but I run after all day long. And then of course the result will be sins, because constantly I'm running after something that I'm not allowed to do, and that will result in a sin. And that's the agenda of the Yetzer Hara. Now, we have to now focus and to see what is the agenda of the Yetzer Hara and to be able to pull the neshama from the klippah out to the kedusha. This is basically what we're supposed to do. There's constantly a battle. Now, this is all this concept, what I just told you, that the Yetzer Hara, his entire agenda is to move me away from my focus. This is called exile. Exile is when I'm not in a place where I'm supposed to be. Now this specific exile is called galut pnimit, a very internal exile. Now what is this internal exile? It comes in my thoughts, and I have bad thoughts, and I have impure thoughts. Constantly it's coming down from a very high level, because our soul has three garments that it operates through: thought, speech, and action. And first of all, it starts through my thoughts. So all day long my thoughts are impure. I'm thinking how to cheat in business, how to get that person, how to get back to that person. Constantly my thoughts are impure. And that's the reality. If you're right now not going like this, then you're in a very deep level of denial. But the reality is that our thoughts are constantly impure thoughts, because they're coming from the concealment of the Yetzer Hara. Now, the teachings of Kabbalah explains that the Yetzer Hara has many different types of power, many different types of kochot, of these energies. One of them is a Yetzer Hara for money, is a unpure desire for money. The other one is for forbidden relations. The other one is for pride. The other one is for anger. All these types of Yetzer Hara I attributed to my desires, but really the Yetzer Hara has many different costumes, many different ways how he comes to attack you. And each time he presents himself in a total different way, and he comes in many different forms and many different times of the day. One time I have a Yetzer Hara for money, then I will start cheating in business and I will steal and lie. Then my Yetzer Hara comes in a different costume, in a costume of forbidden relations all day long. That's what's going to be on my mind. And then with pride and anger and so forth, so the Yetzer Hara has many different ways that he can come to control us. Also in the teachings of Kabbalah, it explains that every nation in the world, we have 70 nations, every nation in the world has a connection to one of the powers of the Yetzer Hara. The same way that there's a Yetzer Hara for money, there's a nation that the power of that nation, what moves the nation, is lust for money. You can think by yourself which nation is that. Then there's a nation, the same way that I have a desire for anger and negative things, there will be a nation that their desire is for killing and for murder. So the same way that the Yetzer Hara has many different powers, there will be many different nations, and each nation will have a different power. For example, you know that the sons of Ishmael, that's a nation. Their entire agenda is killing. That's their thing. It's even totally legal for them to kill. It's a mitzvah for them to kill whoever doesn't go in their way. Amazingly, you see, the words in Hebrew are very, very exact and very precise. It says about Ishmael, the sons of Ishmael, that hu yeh pere Adam. He's going to be a very wild person. Now, if you know Hebrew, you will see that grammatically, that's not the right way to talk, to say pere Adam, the adjective, and then the noun. Because really you would say in Hebrew, Adam is a person, you would say Adam Chacham, a smart person, Adam Gadol, a big person. But in Hebrew you first say the person, and then you'll say what he is. Here it's talking about, with Ishmael, Hu yeh pere Adam. He's going to be wild, and then Adam. So really he's not an Adam, he's not a human being, it's not a man. It's a pere, it's a wild. And he has dressed on it a man. So you see that every nation has a certain quality. Now what happens is that if I fail right now in a certain motion of the Yetzer Hara, I feed that nation with more power. That's why you see that unfortunately in our generation, everybody, okay, I shouldn't say everybody, 99.9%, they have the desire for money. I'm saying desire, I'm not talking about that you want to work and make a paycheck and pay your rent and sit and study Torah for 5 hours. Everybody has a drive for money. Because I want a bigger car, and I want a nicer house, and I want to show everybody I have a nice watch and beautiful clothes, and which is nothing wrong to have nice things. But when the desire coming from a very impure place, what happens is that I feed the nation that their power comes from desire for money. Now what happens is that nation now will overrule me. That's why you see that the nation of Israel now is subject to the ruling of most nations in the world. You know that now in Israel, if the Prime Minister of Israel wants to build a veranda in Yerushalayim, he needs to call America and ask for permission. And if the Americans are not going to give him permission, you're not building that veranda. You see how a nation is controlling another nation. So because we are failing in the desire, in the lust for greed, for money, then the nation that's their power, it's controlling us. And that's with every different type of nations. We have a serious problem with anger and judgmental and jealousy and all that. So the nation that's their power, the sons of Ishmael, they're controlling us, they're overpowering us, they have an upper hand on us. The Zohar explains, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai explains in the holy book of the Zohar that this is the secret of the exile. We are in exile, and there's a secret to the exile. That when we fall into the character trait of some unwanted desire, that's when that nation will control us. And that's why you see that when at the time of the at the time of the first temple, when we had Shlomo HaMelech, everything was fine and well. One of the reasons why we call him Shlomo, because his name comes from the word Shalom, there was peace in the world. There wasn't any fights. There wasn't any wars. The whole time that King Solomon, Shlomo HaMelech, was the king. Because we weren't failing in all these motions, so no nations controlled us. Not only did the nations didn't control us, the nations came to offer their sacrifices in the Holy Temple. The Holy Temple is for the entire world. It's not only for us. The Holy Temple is for everybody who wants to sacrifice something for Hashem. So since for the last 2,000 years we are failing in controlling these attributes, these motions, that's why we're always being controlled by a different nation. One time by the Germans, one time by the Russians, one time by the Spanish government. Each time we're controlled by a different nation. Why? Because we are basically failing in our essence. Now, this is the secret of the exile, that we are basically failing in our personal level, so it's affecting the entire world. Now these 3 weeks, the 3 weeks that we're commemorating now, is the time to create this inner tikkun, this correction of what's going on inside. This is called Tikkun Olam, correcting the damage of the world. And the essence, the time that it's done, it's now in these 3 weeks. That I can dig deep down inside to the depth of the impurity and pull my godly soul out from where it is and bring it back to its source, which, that's Hashem, of course. And that is the time that it can be done. I mean, every time, every day of the year can be done, but now it's a very auspicious time, these 3 weeks. Now, how do I do it? How am I able to take my neshama? Because the reality is, if you stop for 1 second and think, each and every one of us is stuck in some type of an exile. If you are not willing to admit in what I just said, there's a much deeper problem to deal with. But the reality is that each and every one of us is stuck in some type of an exile. One person is addicted to this thing, another person is addicted to that thing, another person is unfortunately depressed, another person is battling all his bad attributes, he's constantly angry, can't control his anger, can't control his jealousy. The reality is, just today I met a very amazing individual that came and told me, I want to be a good person, I want to be a good father, I want to be a good husband, I want to be a good employee, I want to be good, but I constantly sin. It's like, like a race. I'm trying and then I fall, and then I'm trying and then I fall. And he's like, I don't want to be a bad husband, I want to be the best husband, and then I fail again, and then I want to be a good father, and then I scream at my kids. And I told him, you know what, you solved your problem. Why are you coming and asking me? You have the will. The fact that you are succeeding or not, that's already up to the Kadosh Baruch Hu, if you're going to succeed or not. But at least you have the will. You want to. You have the knowledge of saying, I want to become better. Most people say, no, I'm fine with where I am. I don't have a problem with anger. Why are you telling me that? I have a problem with anger! That's how most people would react when you tell them they have a problem with anger. So, we are not willing to admit where we're holding. Very few people are able to stand and say, yeah, you're right, I have a problem with this, this, and this. Can't control my mouth, I lie all day long. You're right, I have a problem all day long. My thoughts are going to different hotels. So the way for me to pull my neshama out of the klipa, because the reality is all our souls are stuck in a very deep place of impurity, because that's what the Yetzer Hara wants. He doesn't want me to serve Hashem. He doesn't want me to be happy. He wants me to be pulled down into the depth of impurity, controlling my thoughts, controlling my desire, that I think that that's my desire. He's messing everything up in such a way that I think that my desire is all these bad thoughts. I think that all the things that I lust and I want, that's me, that's what I want. And then people come with all these thoughts, but it's me, why do you want me to change? What's wrong with me doing this and that? That's what I want, that's what I like. No, it's the Yetzer Hara distorting it and putting in your mind that that's what you really want, which in essence it's not. So I have to realize my soul is stuck in the depth of the klipa. I'm not saying that anybody's bad. Don't take it as a personal insult that I'm saying chas v'shalom that somebody's bad. We're all in the same place. We're all stuck in this klipa, this power of impurity. But we want to take it out, because as long as I am in a personal exile, then the entire world will be in an exile. In order for the world to come out of exile, I have to come out of my own exile. Now, how do I do that? How do I pull my soul out of this klipa? The first thing that I need to do is I need to recognize, where am I? I need to recognize in which klipa am I stuck, and to admit it. If I have a problem with anger, I need to acknowledge the fact, yeah, I have a problem with anger. Can't control my mouth. If I have a problem with lying, I need to acknowledge the fact, yeah, I have a problem with lying. Which means I have to lower my ego and say, yeah, I'm bad here, here, and here. Most people, they're trying to justify their behavior. No, it wasn't my fault, it's his fault. I have not a problem with anger. They get me upset. I'm totally fine. Everybody just upsets me. So, first, a person needs to realize where they are and to be truthful with himself, and to, first of all, recognize it. If you don't recognize where you're stuck, that's already a problem. If you have some type of a weakness for something, I don't like using the word addiction, it's an invention. It's a weakness. It's the klipa is empowering me. That's it. Now everybody has to come up with all sorts of titles. So they named it as an addiction. If you look at the dictionary 500 years ago, there's no such a word. It's I can't stand the exile. The power of impurity is stronger than me. That's it. Just pulling me by my nose. So I need to recognize where am I stuck. That's the first thing. And in order for me to recognize where I'm stuck, I have to activate a certain character trait that is called midat haemet. The character trait, the attribute of emet, of truth. And very sadly, and this is not a personal attack to anyone, most people don't know how to activate this attribute. They don't know how to be really truthful. The midat haemet is one of the most hardest attributes one can work on. Because it's very, very hard to be honest. Because it's not convenient. And it doesn't look good. And I'm not going to make a sale. And that person's going to get upset at me. The reality, most people are liars. They lie to other people all day long. They lie to Hashem all day long, like as if Hashem doesn't know. And then they lie to themselves. And when a person is constantly involved in this attribute of lying, of midat hasheker, they're living in some fake reality. I told it so many times, I'll repeat it. A few years ago, I came back from Yom Kippur, from Shul. 24 hours a day, I was in Shul. There's no point of coming home. There's no food. There's no nothing. So might as well sit in the synagogue and pray. There's no point of even going to sleep. So every Yom Kippur, I stay up all night. Baruch Hashem, I read 3 books of Tehillim. That's the time that you do it. After 25 hours of fasting, I go home. We put the kids to sleep, my wife and me, and then we sit and have a cup of tea. So I tell her, no, you have an hachlata, a resolution for the year? She tells me, yes, I decided to start praying, I decided to do this, I decided to do that. So she tells me, do you have a hachlata, a resolution? I said, yeah, I decided to stop lying. She tells me, you? You don't lie. I go, oh, I lie. I lie all day long. All day long I lie. And she couldn't understand what I'm talking about. And I said, yeah, we all lie. Now, in order for me, I wanted to work on that part in me. I bought myself a little notebook. And every time that I lied, I wrote the lie. And the time that I lied. And at the end of the day, when I sat on bed and I said Kriyat Shema al Hamita, I opened that notebook. And you know what I found? 30, 40, 50 lies. 40, 50 lies a day. Now, it's not that I was going and cheating people, but why were you late? Don't ask. You know what traffic there was? Why are you saying there's traffic? Just said I woke up late. I got stuck. I got delayed. A lie is a lie. There's no big lie, small lie, white lie, green lie. I don't even know who invented the white lie. Why can't it be a blue lie? Nonsense. A lie is a lie. You know, exaggerating is a lie too. So the reality is that I went through this notebook and every day I found a lot of lies. How many times somebody calls you, where are you? I'm at home. Why are you saying you're at home? You're not at home, you're in the market. Why? Just say the truth. Now if you going through the day, you don't really notice this because we're such liars that all day long lying, it's a normal thing. Monitor it for one day. You'll see how many times a day you lie. You'll be shocked. You might be even embarrassed. How much junk is coming out of my mouth? Then people wonder, I pray all day long, Hashem doesn't listen to me. Yeah, because your whole mouth is full of lies. Why would Hashem listen to you? The tefillah doesn't even go up. So I'm not coming here to give tochecha now and to rebuke people about lying. I'm just coming to give you some type of an eye-opener. Because the reality is that when I made this whole thing with writing, I would notice where do I lie and what nonsense I lie even. It's not that I'm cheating here somebody for $5 million. I can say, okay, at least you're making money. Nonsense, little nonsense. So when you lie all day long with small things, you know what's going to happen? Then you start going to big things. And if you're very particular with the small things, when it comes to a big thing, you're not going to lie. You're going to be able to admit and say, I messed up, I'm sorry. And you know what? People will respect you much, much more when you're honest. So in order for me to know exactly where I'm holding, I have to be honest. And that's the problem, because most people are not willing to admit where they fail. So in order for me to recognize, first I have to have midat haemet. I have to catch myself and say, who am I kidding? I'm jealous. I'm jealous of that person because he has a nicer car. I'm jealous of this person because his wife is more prettier than mine. My wife is gorgeous. I'm just giving you an example. No, I don't want people to start thinking that. Besides, my wife watches. I wish she never watches my classes. But the point is that I need to catch myself and say, this is where my fault is. So in order for me to do it, A, I have to lower my ego. B, I have to start activating the attribute of honesty. Be honest. Trust me, don't ever lie ever again. Your life is going to be very successful. Life is going bad when I'm starting to lie and I'm distorting the reality of the world. Hashem cannot stand liars. He can't stand people who lie because you're taking His reality and you're distorting it. I'm not happy with your reality. So the next thing I need to do is I need to empower this attribute of emet, of truth, because the Yetzer Hara is going to come and cover the truth. He's going to come and hide the truth. The Zohar calls this world Alma de Shikra, the world of deception, the world of lie. Shikra is lie. Because why? The Yetzer Hara comes and covers the world and he lies to you. And he tells you that's important, that's not important. When really what's important is what the Yetzer Hara is covering. So first of all, I have to empower that attribute of emet. Then I have to start fixing my heart. This is called Tikkun Olam. Because all my attributes, all my character traits are in my heart. I have to start fixing my heart, which means my thoughts and my desires. What are my thoughts desiring all day long? What am I thinking all day long? And what are my desires? How am I starting to control that? Now, the way I need to do that is I have to start purifying my heart. This is called Tihur Halev, the purification of my heart, because everything is really hiding in my heart. All my attributes, whether it's anger or hate or jealousy or judgmental, everything is in the heart. And when my heart is full of all these bad character traits, then it starts projecting outside. Now, all this process, this is called transforming the judgment into chesed. Transforming the gvorot into chasadim, the judgment into kindness. And this is where the secret lies, because that's what I need to do, is transforming anything that is a judgment, something that is negative. Judgment comes from the word, there's no judgment that the judge is sitting and judging you. Rather severity. This is called midat adin. This is called a concealment. When Hashem wanted to create the world, He created the world with a lot of light. And He saw that the world will not sustain. We can't accept this light. So He created something that is called a contraction. And the Kabbalistic terminology, it's called tzimtzum. He contracted the light. He didn't remove the light. He just covered it. Like you have a very, very powerful light, you just dim it by covering it. So the Kadosh Baruch Hu just contracted that light. This is Midat Adin, this contraction. I want to take whatever the Yetzer Hara is hiding and to transform it into kindness. Kindness means that I have a lot of it. Chesed, ribui, and abundance. I want to remove this concealment. Now what's going to happen when I do that? I'm going to start feeling what's really in my heart. And what's really in my heart is the love for Hashem. Is the love for another Jew. Is the desire to do good, to help. So I have to reveal what's deep inside my heart. Now amazingly, Baal HaTanya gives an unbelievable explanation of this whole concept in the book of Tanya. And he explains that in our heart, this is also proven medically, that in our heart there are two chambers, the right chamber and the left chamber. That's physically. So if it's physically, means that it's manifested from a spiritual place, meaning that in the spiritual part of the heart, there's a right chamber and a left chamber. The right chamber represents happiness. The left chamber represents bitterness. Now you have the holy side of it and you have the unholy side of it. In the holy side of it, the left part that represents bitterness is the bitterness for me not to be able to serve Hashem. If my heart was pure and I would not be able to do a mitzvah, I would be bitter, sad, and depressed because I don't have the opportunity to do a mitzvah. The right side of the heart represents the happiness, is that I'm happy to do a mitzvah. Now, the way to explain it in a more clearer way, right now how it's referring to me, in the left side of the heart, the bitterness, it's that I'm very far away from Hashem. If you really meditate on your spiritual place, and you're honest, then you'll start being bitter because I'm very far away from the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Like this individual that I met today. He says, I want to be much more closer to Hashem. I want to pray. I'm desiring to be a better person. So he's bitter on the fact that he's far away from Hashem. But on the right side of my heart, when I have a lot of simcha, a lot of happiness, that when I do serve Hashem, I'm happy because you know what darkness is around me, what darkness is exile, and I'm still serving Hashem. I'm still able to wake up in the morning and drag my tuchas into the shul. I should be very happy with such darkness, I'm still able to serve Hashem. Now, if you're looking at it in the negative side, then in the left side of the heart, when I have bitterness, and this is more connected to us, why do I have bitterness? Why am I sad or unhappy? Because I'm not able to get what I desire, the negative things. So I become very bitter, very sad, and very depressed because I'm not able to fulfill my unwanted desire and negative lusts. Now, where do I have happiness in my heart? On the right side of the heart is when I'm able to fulfill my te'avah. That I was actually able to overpower my Yetzer Tov and to fulfill the unwanted desire, and now I'm happy. So I get a very quick fix of happiness, whatever it is. I said a very juicy Lashon Hara to some of the friends. Oh, now I'm so happy. 15 minutes I have this joy because I was able to nail that person and prove what he did. So I'm getting this fake happiness. I'm not talking about other very forbidden things, that I get a fix of happiness. So I have both ways of looking at it, the negative, the positive, and the spiritual and the physical. The point is that I have to understand what's hidden deep down in my heart, and to be able to transform it is to sweeten the judgment and to reveal the chasadim. And this can be done in these 3 weeks. In the 3 weeks between Yud Zayin Tammuz and Tisha B'Av, that seemingly has a lot of judgments, a lot of negativity. Really, it's just the Yetzer Hara covering over the reality to make me think that the reality is negative. The reality is that it's not negative. We're just looking at the empty part of the cup, exactly like Rabbi Vaknin said a few minutes ago. Why are you so happy? Because I'm thanking Hashem for what? For what not? Now, if I'm all day long complaining, of course life is not going to look good. If I'm going to all day long thank for what I have, life is going to look perfect. Because I'm going to look at the positive that's in my life. And exactly like he said it beautifully, Rabbi Vaknin. If you constantly thanking Hashem, He's going to give you reasons to thank Him. If you're constantly complaining, He's going to give you reasons to complain. That's how it works. So I have to take the time to look deep, deep, deep inside of my heart and to figure out what's deep inside of my heart and how am I transforming it. And I just gave you the whole structure how to reach it. There are 2 tikkunim that I have to do in these 3 weeks, because a lot of people say, okay, now I have an auspicious time. What do I need to do? I need to do the tikkun, the correction of bitterness and the correction of simcha, of happiness. And that's the recipe how I transform the judgments into kindness. And the most auspicious time to do it is now. It's now in this time of the 3 weeks. It's already passed almost half of it. But now is actually from the month of Av, it's considered the more severe time. Rather, it means that there's even a more auspicious time to do that. So the concealment, the darkness is going to be even thicker. Now it's up to me, what do I want to do with it? Do I want to fall again for the lie of the Yetzer Hara and believe what he's saying, that life is bad? Or I'm choosing to not to. In any situation, you can look at something very negative and then you can look at it as something very positive. It all depends on you, how you look at it. The point is to look deep, deep inside to the depth of my heart and to see really what is lacking in my life. Why am I bitter? And you will find, if you know how to activate or to empower this midat emet, this attribute of truth, you'll be able to see slowly how what is missing in my life is Hashem. It's not anything else. What we're lacking right now is Hashem. Everything that I'm lacking and it comes out as something very negative because I'm lacking Hashem in my life. I might be coming to shul 3 times a day. It doesn't mean anything. If I'm coming to shul and my mind is on my business or somewhere else, so my body is in the synagogue, but not my mind and not my soul. So the point to take from that is very, very simple, that we are in a very auspicious time, a time when we can transform the judgments into chasadim, into kindness, that originally these days were planned to be very auspicious time. Yud Zayin B'Tammuz was supposed to be our Independence Day, our 4th of July, when we got the holy tablets, the Luchot HaBrit, the fact that they broke, now it turned around. Same thing with Tisha B'Av. That was the day that Moshe Rabbeinu was supposed to take us into Eretz Israel. The next day we would go into Eretz Israel. Tisha B'Av is when the spies came back. Yud B'Av, the 10th of Av, we would go into Eretz Israel. That's it. 3 days of a journey, 2 days to build Bet HaMikdash, and that's it. We have Bet HaMikdash. So the point I want to take from that is that, yes, I have to follow the halakha, that I have to mourn now. So we don't eat meat now for the next 9 days. We don't listen to music. We don't party. We don't make engagements. We have a whole list of don'ts. That's to commemorate what we're lacking. But the real internal work that I need to do, the cover, the judgments, is just, I told you, it's a garment. It's just a covering. Inside the depth of it, I have to see the positive and what I can achieve. And in order for me to affect the entire world, I have to see where I'm wrong. And Hashem says, I don't judge you for all these te'avot that you have. All these undesired things that you have, I'm not judging you for that, because you know why? I put it in you. I made you born with it. I'm the manufacturer. I'm not judging you for that. I'm judging you for not being honest. And I'm judging you for not admitting that that's what I do. And I'm judging you for the fact that you're willing to fall for the lie of the Yetzer Hara and to fall into sadness. That's what the Yetzer Hara wants. The Yetzer Hara will come to convince you to do a sin. He doesn't care about the sin. The Yetzer Hara just wants you to be depressed. Because when you're depressed, you don't come in the morning to pray. And when you're depressed, you're mean to everybody around you. You don't want to do anything when you're sad. That's where the exile comes. It comes to poke the air out of the balloon. So it comes in a form of a sin. Just notice that usually what happens to people after they sin, they have a certain desire, the Yetzirah is pumping and pumping and pumping, and then the person falls. Most people, right after that, they fall into sadness. You won again. And then you really don't feel like doing anything. You're heavy. You don't want to go the next day to pray. So the trick of the Yetzirah is to make you sad. Hashem says, I'm not judging you for the te'avah that you have, for the desire. I'm judging you for not being honest and saying, you know, I have a weakness. This is where I'm weak. And I'm going to work on it. And it's not if you succeed or if you fail. It's how much effort you put into the battle. If you succeed or if you fail, that's up to the Kadosh Baruch Hu. He decides if you will fail the test or if you will succeed the test. What is required from you is just your effort. How much effort you put. Doesn't matter if you failed 500 times. It's the effort that you put into the struggle. And more than that, admitting by saying, yeah, this is where I'm weak. Very few people are able to come and say, you know, this is my weaknesses. How can I change it? So we have a very auspicious time in these rest of the 9 days. I mean, it started on the 17th of Tammuz, but we have now 9 days where Kadosh Baruch Hu says, now it's easy. Now I'm giving you extra access, where we can dig deep down into our heart and first of all admit, and I'm telling you, if you have to take something out of tonight, is at least knowing how to emphasize the attribute of emet, midat emet. There's nothing more powerful than the truth. We just read 2 weeks ago that when the sons of Korach, I mean the ground opened, everybody was swallowed into the ground. We read in Parashat Pinchas, completely out of context, where it says, Bnei Korach lo meto. The sons of Korach didn't die. The earth opened, they all fell in. It says that like a krach, like a little rock came out and up, and they landed on it. And they didn't go all the way down into Genom. And you know what they said when they got saved? They said, Moshe emet, v'torato emet. Moshe is truth, and his Torah is truth. It's nothing but the truth. The point is that this is one of the most hardest things for a person is to be honest. And when a person is 100% honest, not one word of lie comes out of his mouth, that person is like a tzaddik in the eyes of Hashem. Just don't lie. Let's see you not lying. Now again, a lot of people don't like to be rebuked. Why are you calling me a liar? I'm not a liar. The point is that you have to close yourself in the room, look in the mirror and be true to yourself. Hey, you can't lie to other people. Don't try to lie to Hashem because He's the master of the universe. You know how ridiculous you look when you lie to God? If he would want to talk to you, He would tell you, who are you lying to? I'm God. I know everything. You lying to me? Just how ridiculous we look when we lie to Hashem. And we're constantly lying in our mind to Hashem. And more than that, I lie to myself. Who am I kidding? So this is the time to do a little bit of cheshbon nefesh, a self-assessment to see where am I holding. And the secret of my success, of getting myself out of my own exile, is only depending on purifying my heart. That my heart is pure. If my heart is pure, then it will start affecting that my thoughts will be pure. And everything else is going to be pure. And then I get myself out of my own personal exile. It doesn't mean I'm going to stop sinning. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to have the unwanted desires, but they're going to be under control. And at least I'm going to be able to admit, this is my fault. Now, needless to say, when I go out of my personal exile, I go and I affect the entire world to go out of the general exile. So, B'ezrat Hashem, all is left is to wish you all great success in everything that you do. The prophet Zechariah says that the fasts of the 4th and the 5th and the 7th and the 10th are going to turn into holidays. which means that all the fast, all these fasting days are going to turn very quickly into holidays. The Prophet says, "Lo hayu yamim tovim kaele liYisrael." These days are going to turn into happiness. Yamim elu yafchu lesimcha. Very soon, Tisha B'Av is going to be a festival. Bezrat Hashem, we should merit that this Tisha B'Av is going to be a festival. And we're going to be able to celebrate the coming of Mashiach and seeing the building of the third Beit HaMikdash with our own eyes. And all this can only be done when I know how to pure the inside of me, pure my heart, pure my thoughts, know how to admit on my weaknesses. By taking myself out of my personal exile, my life is going to be much, much better. More than that, I'm affecting the entire world, that the entire world is going to be changed and looked favorably. Bezrat Hashem, we should merit to see the coming of Mashiach very soon with our own eyes, and this Tisha B'Av should become a festival and not a fast. Bezrat Hashem, we should all meet very soon in Eretz Israel, in the land of Israel, and enjoy the fruits and the merits of Beit HaMikdash and seeing Mashiach with our own eyes.